Nobody expected the night to end like this. A nostalgic homecoming that was supposed to be a feel-good comeback instead ripped the rug out from under a team that thought its season still had life. This mattered for more than nostalgia. A city that watched a legend walk back onto the field was also watching a playoff picture shake loose. For Indianapolis, the game was a last loud chance to prove the season wasn't over. For San Francisco, it was another test of whether their offense could carry a team missing its defensive anchors. The stakes were playoff seeds, momentum, and the fragile narrative of a team that started hot and then began to fray. You know the setup: a 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, comfort with the cadence, a stadium that wanted a story. The broadcast leaned into it, cameras following every timeout, every exhale. Rivers' first throws felt like a warm reminder of why he mattered. Confident releases, pinpoint placement, and that signature calm in the pocket. The crowd ate it up. For stretches, it looked like a comeback movie playing out live. But while everyone watched Rivers reemerge, something more subtle was happening on the opposite sideline. And that's the part people missed until the scoreboard made it impossible to ignore. There was a quiet, surgical performance unfolding, one that wasn't about nostalgia or headline moments, but about dismantling an opponent in ways that didn't scream for attention. I'll come back to that thread. It's the connective tissue that explains why this game changed more than just one night. Rivers' story deserves its own chapter. After 5 years away, his mechanics still held up in the moment. Early on, he connected on a textbook touchdown to Alec Pierce. The throw had the old Rivers arc and the old Rivers voice behind it. Later, when the cameras captured those hot mic snippets, it reminded everyone that part of his appeal has always been personality. He called a flag bullcrap in a way that made you grin. He celebrated a scoring play with a heartfelt "let's stinkin' go." There was the classic Rivers refrain, "Dadgummit," echoed by fans holding signs and laughing along. It was wholesome, human, and exactly why people tuned in. Those little moments did what they were supposed to. They humanized a football legend and gave a humid Monday night a warm center. But in football, warmth doesn't win games by itself. Execution does. Depth does. Adjustments do. And that's where the quiet takeover comes in. Midway through the game, the 49ers operated like a team that had practiced silence and then struck. Their offense moved in short bursts, towing the line between surgical and effortless. Routes were crisp, protection held long enough. Nothing about it begged for a highlight reel, but everything added up. Then came the moment that changed the narrative. A short touchdown that on paper looked ordinary, but in context read like a declaration. That drive was not flashy. It was methodical. It was the kind of possession that forces a defense to show its cards and then punishes the answers. From that sequence forward, the rhythm belonged to the visitors. What really made the difference wasn't just play calling. It was ball placement, timing, and the kind of decision-making that makes good defenses feel slow. The Colts linebackers and safeties had to keep guessing, and each time they guessed wrong, Purdy, calm, compact, almost invisible as a headline grabber, hit the spot. When someone asks what a franchise looks like when it's quietly elite, watch how they react to pressure without panic. The 49ers didn't panic. They answered repeatedly. And then the ledger showed the truth. Brock Purdy threw 5 touchdowns that night. 5. That stat isn't just eye-catching, it's a manifesto. It explains how San Francisco could do damage while losing big names on defense and why their offense can mask a lot of flaws. The turning point that finalized the story wasn't a dramatic fourth-quarter heave or a controversial replay. It was a play that sucked the air out of Lucas Oil Stadium. A turnover returned the other way for a 74-yard score, an interception that flipped momentum into a near-immediate knockout. That wasn't just a swing in points. It was the emotional death knell for a comeback that, until that moment, still felt possible. So what does this game teach us? For the Colts, it's an uncomfortable portrait of a team that began the year with a 7-1 glow and then fell apart. Rivers performed in short bursts and gave the offense life, but the defense, already thinned by injuries and inconsistency, couldn't hold when tested. You can't pin this on one snap or one veteran comeback. The loss exposed structural issues, an inability to stop tempo, lapses in coverage, and a defense that repeatedly gave up the kind of efficient drives that win playoff football. On the flip side, the 49ers win feels like a reaffirmation of identity. Losing Nick Bosa and Fred Warner earlier in the year would crush many teams. San Francisco patched pieces together, adjusted, and the offense kept ascending. Kyle Shanahan's play calling wasn't flashy for brightness. It was brilliant in its restraint. He created mismatches and leaned on an offense that remains one of the most flexible in the league. Purdy's 5-touchdown night is the sort of performance that doesn't demand headlines to do damage. It just flips outcomes. There's also a cultural note here. Rivers' mic'd up, family-friendly trash talk reminded us all why he's beloved. The man can light up a sideline without resorting to profanity, and fans welcomed that. That color, the dadgummit, the let's stink and go, the good-natured protest of a flag, made the night feel human. But story beats don't equal victories. The emotional resonance of Rivers' return didn't translate into a win because football is a team sport, and San Francisco's offense was a team on a mission. And let's not forget the ripple effects around the league. Because of this result, other AFC teams clinched playoff spots without lifting a finger. Jacksonville, Buffalo, the Chargers, their tickets were punched while Indy watched from the field. That's a brutal way for a season's momentum to evaporate, watching your fate be decided elsewhere while the lights are still hot at your home stadium. So what's next? For the 49ers, the question is tantalizing. Can this Purdy-led offense sustain that efficiency and carry a defense that's still healing into deep playoff runs? If the answer is yes, then the NFC suddenly has a team capable of matching up with any elite squad. For the Colts, the question is bloodier. Is this Rivers interlude a bridge to something? Development work for Anthony Richardson or Riley Leonard, or is it the final telling snapshot of a roster that needs more than nostalgia to win? Are the failures here fixable with a coaching tweak, roster moves, and health, or is this the season where injuries merely exposed deeper roster and schematic problems? You could leave this night as a sentimental anecdote about a favorite quarterback's return, or you could read it as the moment a season quietly closed its door, not with fireworks, but with the steady efficiency of an offense that knew how to get the job done. Either way, the louder question lingers. When the postseason arrives, which narrative will hold true? The comeback story fans wanted, or the quiet reality the scoreboard already whispered? Nobody expected the night to end like this. A nostalgic homecoming that was supposed to be a feel-good comeback instead ripped the rug out from under a team that thought its season still had life. This mattered for more than nostalgia. A city that watched a legend walk back onto the field was also watching a playoff picture shake loose. For Indianapolis, the game was a last, loud chance to prove the season wasn't over. For San Francisco, it was another test of whether their offense could carry a team missing its defensive anchors. The stakes were playoff seeds, momentum, and the fragile narrative of a team that started hot and then began to fray. You know the setup: a 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, comfort with the cadence, a stadium that wanted a story. The broadcast leaned into it, cameras following every timeout, every exhale. Rivers' first throws felt like a warm reminder of why he mattered. Confident releases, pinpoint placement, and that signature